Hey everybody, welcome to class. Happy Thursday. Sorry I'm not here today. Had to take my son to the doctor. Please be good to the sub. They're going to pass the papers out to you today. You probably already got them. Um, your work is on Google Classroom. You see it here because you're already here. You're going to be filling out some guided notes for the Pacific Theater and what happened during wars in the Pacific as the United States battled Japan. And you're also going to watch a short video on the fog of war and answer a couple of questions about it to kind of show you so you can experience the battle in Tokyo. By the end of the day, what you should be able to do is understand the geography of the Pacific Theater, understand key battles of the Pacific Theater. You're going to reflect on the civilian costs of World War II and decide whether or not it was justified, and then relate your study of the civilian cost of World War II of the United States drone program using an article that you're going to look at today. Um, just so you can kind of see here, this is a map. You can see Japan up at the top in the center, and the big red loop is everywhere that they controlled. They controlled everything all through there in that loop. Kind of shows how big their empire has gotten. And you can see where all the little black stars are. Those are battles. Some of them we'll talk about, some of them we won't. But those are all the little battles that were fought here in the Pacific. So yesterday we talked about the rape of Nanking, or I should say 2 days ago we talked about that. Um, that was the 1937 invasion of Nanking in China. We know the Japanese soldiers brutally killed hundreds of thousands of Chinese civilians and raped thousands of women. Terrible, terrible thing the Japanese were doing. Another terrible thing the Japanese were doing. In the Philippines Islands, they captured it. They forced U.S. soldiers to surrender in the Philippines, and then forced these soldiers, these U.S. soldiers, these prisoners of war, to march 68 miles to a Japanese prison camp. They call this the Bataan Death March. You can see the little photo there on the right, showing all the American soldiers that died on this march. Just so you can kind of see here, this is a reflection from a Bataan Death March survivor. It says here they'd halt us in front of these big wells so we could see the water, but they wouldn't let us have any. Anyone who would make a break for water would be shot or bayoneted. Remember, bayonets are the long knives on the end of the guns. Then they were left there. Finally, it got so bad further along the road, you never got away from the stench of death. There were bodies laying all along the road in various degrees of decomposition. Swollen, burst open, maggots crawling by the thousands. Pretty terrible. The Japanese were really, really ruthless during World War II. We saw how they treated the people of China, and now we see how they treat American soldiers when they defeat them in the Philippines. So the U.S. starts to fight back. One of the first big battles that we fight is called the Battle of Midway. You can see the Midway Island there on the right on the map, the little yellow dot. There, the United States stopped the Japanese advance in the Pacific. The Midway Islands are midway in between Japan and Hawaii. This was the turning point of World War II for Japan. Things started to go bad for them after this. As things continued to get bad, the United States used this strategy called island hopping. It's a U.S. military strategy where we would hop from one island to the next to get closer to Japan so we could launch an attack on the mainland of Japan. You notice in the big circle there, the big red circle, Japan has control of hundreds and hundreds of islands. Couldn't get control of all of them, so we chose strategic ones that would get us closer and closer so that we could launch an attack on the big island of Japan. One of the battles we fought, one of the islands that we took was the island of Iwo Jima. This was in February of 1945. It's 670 miles from Japan. The United States captured the island. When you guys went on your 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C., you may have seen the flag raising memorial from the flag raising at Iwo Jima. That's what that battle was from. That's what that memorial was for, commemorating all the soldiers that died there. Another island that we took using the strategy of island hopping was a battle in Okinawa, and you can see that in the map there on the right. Occurred in June of 1945. Okinawa is 350 miles from Japan, and the United States captured that island. Now we're getting close. What are we going to do in Japan? Are we going to attack it? Try to do an amphibious invasion? We're getting really close, and we can decide what we're going to do. By taking Okinawa, we were close enough. One of the things we decided to do before any type of invasion was we decided to firebomb Japan. And in 1945, we have what's called the Tokyo firebombings. American B-29 bombers. You can see the picture of the one at the top right of your screen. Were huge. They were way up in the sky, but they were missing their targets. They weren't smart bombs like we have today. So what do? We use what we call napalm bombs instead. When these bombs explode, they start fires. Very, very destructive. They killed thousands of civilians trying to soften Japan up before they decided, what are we going to do for them? Are we going to invade or are we going to continue to firebomb? One of the things that made the firebombs really, really effective was that in Japan and a lot of their architecture, a lot of their buildings were just made of wood. Not bricks, not concrete, but wood. So these firebombs really, really destroyed the city. So your next step. After listening to the notes, go back to Google Classroom, click on the link and watch the video about the Tokyo firebombings. You'll see footage of the firebombings. You'll see the planes that did it. You'll hear the guys that ordered the firebombings, the people that work for the American government, kind of talk about it a little bit. And then there's a couple questions for you to answer on the front side of the paper. And then when you flip the paper over, you're going to look at a more recent article from the New York Times. And in that article, you read it, and it compares the Tokyo firebombings to the drone bombings that we currently use in today's battle against terror. To give you a little modern-day twist on something that happened long ago. Again, if you have any questions about this material, feel free to send me an email or post a message on Google Classroom, and I will reply to you. Or if you don't want to do that, we can definitely we'll answer any questions that you have on Friday. Make sure that you have your Twitter activity finished. We'll talk a little bit about that Friday too. Other than that, have a great day.